Hello, Facebook world.
Hi.
I hope you can hear us. We are sitting in a very busy intersection, so if it gets loud and crazy and someone's watching this, they need to hop on and say, we can't hear you. Anyway, I am super excited to be here today with Samantha Smith. Samantha's story is equal parts heart-wrenching, equal parts inspiring, and it's a hard story to tell and it's a hard story to hear, but it's super, super impactful, and I know it will be a gift to everybody who listens to this either live or watches the rebroadcast. So I'm really excited about it. I'd love to start out and just introduce myself. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jen Petro. I'm the owner of Dropleaf Communications, which is a marketing communications company here in Indianapolis. And I also just launched a online business building course for women, which kicks off in just a few weeks. So, hello, school bus!
That was a really loud one.
So I'm super excited about that course. It's called Build Your Dream Business in 12 Weeks. And as part of that course, I have been sitting down with just crazy, inspiring, fearless women, female entrepreneurs, and telling a little bit about their story and letting them share as well. So that's why I'm here today with Samantha, and I just know that it's going to be a treat. So I'd love to start out and just give a little bit of backstory. I know many people already know Samantha's story, but I'd love to just give a little backstory if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So Samantha married the love of her life, Andrew Smith, right after he graduated from college. So for those of you that didn't know Andrew, he was a top tier athlete. He was a beloved Butler basketball player who inspired people in so many different ways. And so right after they were married, they pursued the professional overseas basketball route,
Yep.
I guess you would call it, in Lithuania. So after they married, they picked up and moved over to Lithuania to kind of start their life together there. And it was shortly after moving to Lithuania that Andrew realized he had a swollen lymph node. And after moving back to the States, was diagnosed with a rare form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that really began for them this sort of 2-year kind of very harrowing journey battling this terrible disease. And so Andrew went from being a seemingly healthy, top-tier athlete, husband who's just a model of health, to being a very sick person with Samantha by his side. And so they walked through this together for 2 years in a very public battle with this disease, and Andrew eventually succumbed to it in January of 2016. And Samantha found herself in this completely unexpected place of her life, in her life. But what's been really amazing for everybody who kind of followed this journey of theirs, and many thousands of people followed them. They started a blog when Andrew was sick that garnered thousands of followers all over the world. And as they walked this out together, one thing that struck me, and I know has struck many other people, is just how they walked through it together with such dignity and grace and faith in a way that's even hard to wrap your head around. And their story has and continues to impact people all across the country even today, and it's an incredible story. And as Samantha continues to wade through her grief and her pain, she has gone on to do some really amazing things. She has spoken publicly in places like Butler University, and she did an amazing TED Talk as well. And she also has gone on to start a business, which is amazing. So kudos to you. And I will let her talk a little bit more about the business itself in a few minutes, but I thought it would just be great to kind of start with this whole idea of starting a business when you're finding yourself in a place that you never expected to be. I know that there are many people out there who, your life just takes a turn. You have no idea. It could be a divorce or a loss or just some really unforeseen circumstance in your life, and you find yourself looking down a road that you never intended. And so I know that you can relate to that, and so her story can speak to that in a really big way. So I would love if you would to just start out by sharing a little bit about what that was like to find yourself in this path that you never expected.
Yeah, sure. I think that, something to know about me as a person is that I am a planner through and through. I'm a control freak, I'm a perfectionist. So Andrew and I, because we had started dating so young, we started dating in high school, we had everything mapped out.
Sure.
We were going to obviously graduate high school, he's going to go to Butler, right. We were going to get married as soon as he graduated, which we did. We got married the weekend after, and then do the professional basketball for about 5 years, have 2 kids within that time. I'm telling you, Jen, we had laid out, we had it planned. So as things started to unravel with that plan, of course there was just so much chaos and so much confusion and so much now what, and then fast forward 2 more years of all that unraveling,
right?
And then to be completely in a place of reset of life for me by myself now. A lot of that was rooted, because I also think about like a lot of everything was wrapped up in Andrew, and I don't say that with any resentment or bitterness. Like, I loved that life, but as we traveled overseas for basketball, like, of course it was about supporting him, and then when he got sick, it was about being his caregiver. So when he passed, like, I had absolutely nothing to resume, and that was a really hard place for me to be as a woman, as a person, as a woman in her mid-20s, just kind of be like, now what? And just certainly being in this place of reset and just sadness in that. So that I think that was definitely one of the hardest things to kind of wrestle through, was this whole, I had this exact life plan mapped out, and then all of a sudden it was looking nothing like that.
That's wild. Yeah, and I know so many people can relate to that. And so at what point, like, once you sort of started realizing, like, this is something, starting a business is something that I might want to do, like, how did you process that? Were you shocked by that, or were you not shocked by that?
So this platform that Andrew and I were kind of thrust into, well, it started with Andrew being a basketball player, and there was an entirely, that was a different platform. It was Andrew on the basketball court and getting love and attention from that, which was wonderful. And then as he got sick, that platform again transformed to this huge following, people just caring and wondering how he's doing and wanting to be, best support for him. And that was a different kind of platform to steward. And then after he passed, it was again just another shift of platform of even when I would go in to speak or was brought in to speak, a lot of times it was about cancer and it was about Andrew, which, don't get me wrong, like, I will always intertwine that into everything I do. But I knew from a standpoint of my mental health, just like I said, like mentally, for my heart, like my life just couldn't be about cancer. But what I could recognize is that speaking and writing was something that, like, certainly just ignited a passion in me, and I felt like certainly made the most impact that I as a person can make. And again, I don't feel like that speaks to like my talent or giftings, but I just feel like that's just kind of the path that I was kind of put on to make the most impact. And that's honestly like what I when I like hone in on my why and like why I do what I do and why it's important. It's like for impact, it's just to help people and empower them.
And that was your vision before any of this
exactly
happened, right?
And it just, so that's the thing, like even when Andrew and I would do speaking or when we would write blog posts, it was to impact, it was to encourage, it was to empower. And so I think it did take me, it took a little bit of time to step back and be like, okay, just because the circumstances changed doesn't mean that necessarily the vision and the dream did. It just means that, how I'm doing that looks totally different. And don't get me wrong, that there are times where I fought that and I've, hated that, and I've been really upset that this is the new reality. But again, just being like, okay, but this is still important and it's still very much so is the dream.
I love that. And I don't think I even said the name of your business.
Oh, no, you're fine.
But so the name of her new business, which just launched 2 weeks ago, a week and a half, so this is a brand new baby.
Brand new.
Is SamanthaSmithSpeaks.com. That is a lot of S's.
A lot of S's, I know, I'm so sorry.
And I want you to tell us more about it, but okay, friends, we're gonna try this again. Technology is not our friend today.
Not today.
We are in cute little Irvington, outside of Indianapolis. Well, actually, it's part of Indianapolis, inside of Indianapolis, which is cute and charming, but their Wi-Fi is not cute and charming.
It's not solid, which is part of the charm.
It's historic.
But during Facebook Live, it's not charming.
We had to dial up just to get on here. Okay, anyway, we're gonna try this again, and if it fails again, we may regroup on another day. But I was just getting ready to have Samantha kind of share a little bit more about her brand new business, SamanthaSmithSpeaks.com. So take it away.
Crushed all those S's.
I did. I got it now. It's in there.
So the heart and the goal behind SamanthaSmithSpeaks.com is just to encourage and empower and love on people and just really come alongside them in their journey. So I do that primarily through speaking and writing and consulting. And coming alongside people in their journey looks different for everybody. So whether that is me going to businesses and talking to their millennials, or chatting with young girls in college about the comparison game that we all fall victim to just sharing our journey and how that's impacted us and what we feel like are key takeaways for just life in general. So that coming alongside and empowering them looks different, but is certainly the heart behind Samantha Smith Speaks.
I love it. If you haven't already, which you probably haven't because it's brand new, you need to go check out her website, Samantha Smith.
A lot of work into it, so please go look at
it. It's really a beautiful site, and it's just beautiful to see your heart comes through so strongly through your site, and it's just such an amazing thing. So I would love to have you talk for a minute about just this whole idea of wanting to start a business but feeling the doubts and the fears and the limiting beliefs that everybody battles when they're going to start something new like that. I'd love to have you talk about personally kind of what that looked like for you.
So I had two main fears going into this. One in which is probably not one that many can relate to, but my main one was that people would think that I was opportunistic and that I was taking advantage of a situation. So I'm never, and I am not a person that really cares about what people think about me. But when it comes to my marriage and Andrew, that is something that I hold obviously very dear to my heart. So the idea that somebody would think that I'm taking advantage of our situation obviously just crushed me. But I think I was able to combat that through just being secure in who I am and being like, you know what, even if that is said or thought of, like, I know that's not my heart. And anybody that followed our journey through our blog and, you know, with Andrew and everything knows that, like, being genuine was always our primary focus. And that's who we are, you know, that's who I am, and that's, you know, what I will always be about. And so just really being secure in who I am as a person and being like, you know what, I know that there will be backlash, and I know that there will be naysayers, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, like, it wasn't going to sit well with my soul to not move forward with this, and so I didn't want that to be this thing that, you know, held me back from that. So that was, I think, one of the biggest fears. And then the second one was honestly just being like, it's not the time. I'm not ready. But then being like, but when will there ever be a perfect time? Right. Whether you are in a season of grief and loss like I was, or you are walking through a divorce or a new job, or you just had a baby, like, there's never going to be an ideal time. There's always going to be something, some reason to not do it. And I think just recognizing that there was never going to be this ideal time kind of allowed me to confidently step into this next step.
I love it. So those were some of the fears and doubts. What were you excited about? What were you most positive about and excited about?
I think that, so honestly, so the first year after Andrew passed, obviously, really hard year, and there are still really hard days, obviously, but I think one of the biggest pieces of advice I got was to never make big decisions in that first year, which I really do stand behind with that and grief. But I remember when the year came and went, so January 13th came, you know, a day after that 1 year mark, I was kind of like, okay, what am I doing? What now, sort of thing. And so when I looked back on the last year, really the only thing that I could think of that really kind of brought a spark back into my soul was speaking and was writing and was to, like, love on people and empower them.
And you were already doing it in a lot of ways.
Trying to, yeah, absolutely. So that's what I was really, you know, excited about, being like, okay, this is something that's bringing me, you know, kind of back to life in some ways. And with grief, it's so heavy and it's so dark and it's seemingly never ending. So to have even just one thing that you can, like, kind of cling on to, being like, this makes me feel good, was just really crucial for me in growth as a person and in the healing process.
I love that. And I love that for you, that thing that brought you joy and brought you comfort is something that also brings that to other people. I think that's a beautiful part of your story. What's been your most, you didn't even know I was going to ask you this, but what's been your most exciting speaking engagement or thing that you've done so far?
Yeah, a TED Talk, absolutely.
I figured you'd
by far, hands down.
Who doesn't want to do a TED Talk?
All right, and I remember doing it and being like, well, it's downhill from here, because, like, what do you do after a TED Talk? But that was an incredible opportunity and something I think that I didn't think I would ever get to do. That was a really crucial one for me, but then also the event that kind of sparked this in me, this whole Samantha Smith Speaks thing. I was doing an event at Butler University with about 150, 200 college-age girls, and we were just talking about, like, again, comparison and rooting your identity and things like that. I remember standing out there and being like, I could do this forever. And I remember having that moment of clarity, being like, okay, then do it forever. That's right. You know, so those were two really major things for me, because that first one at Butler happened pretty early on in that year, and then the TED Talk was just a few months ago. So when I remember being up there feeling like, okay, like, you can do this, like, you can do things that you never thought you would do. That's right. And that's a really powerful place to be, and a dangerous place, but a good place to be, and I love it.
Well, I love that you just said that, because one of my questions was, did you ever think you'd be a speaker?
Right.
Like,
no.
Did you ever imagine you could get up in front? Have you always been comfortable?
So it's always been public speaking has always been a space that I've been very comfortable in, but did I ever think that this would be my life? No. Sure. And I think more so the side that I find myself riddled with doubt in, and sometimes is my writing. So you know my sister Ashley. Yes. Ashley is my sister, and dear friend of Jen's. They were in a writer's group together. But Ashley, my sister, has her degree in English, and she's always been the writer of the family.
That's funny.
So I remember when I started our blog, Kicking Cancer with the Smiths, just feeling like this isn't my realm. Like, I was always the athlete,
That's right.
and Ashley was always the writer. So even in like things like that where you just didn't think that you were ever going to do things.
Right.
And I even find that still to be true. Whenever I get asked at least once a day or once every day, when are you going to write a book? In my head, I'm like, I never thought I was going to write a book, so I don't know. So I think sometimes that pulls me back a little bit, and I have to be mindful of and being really intentional about being like, just because you never thought you were going to do something doesn't mean you can't.
That's so powerful. I love that. Although I'm still getting over the fact that I think you just equated writers with non-athletes.
Oh no, I didn't mean to.
I'm kidding, because I'm a writer who's a non-athlete. So. A little sensitive.
Person.
I'm a little sensitive there.
She's a little salty about it.
Anyway, I love that. It's just so, it's an incredible thing about you. And it would be good to know too, I think, so grief and pain does different things to different people on different days, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely.
And so how has your grief and your pain, has it spurred you on, or has it held you back? How has it interacted with this whole starting a business process?
I would say it certainly has held me back more than it has spurred me on. It is ugly. Grief is so ugly. It is, I think before I walked through this, I always thought that grief was this linear process where you get through a stage of it and you can like kind of check your box and be like, all right, I made it through denial, and I made it through depression, I made it through anger. But what I have found to be true, and I'm still finding to be true, is that it is more of this cycle, and you get through a phase of it and then you're like, okay, like, am I through it? And then a couple weeks later you're right back to it, and so it leads to this really overwhelming and frustrating place. And that has certainly, I think, been hard for me, just being like, how do I even function in life with this when I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, when I don't know that, and a lot, like, I don't know, what if I sign up to do a speaking event and then the day comes and and I'm lost and I can't get out of bed. And that has happened before. But I think because it's happened before, it has allowed me to see that, okay, those days come, and sometimes they come on really inconvenient days, but you still get dressed the same way, and you show up, and you just trust that, like, your why and your impact, and, like, again, why it's so important to you is going to pull you through those really hard days, and it's going to kind of carry you through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of what has drawn people to you since the beginning of your kind of public self is just the fact that you're willing to be vulnerable and tear up and talk openly about hard things. And so I think that it's just a part of who you are. And
I think it's just important. I think like when Andrew and I started our blog, we just never wanted, when we looked online for resources, we found a lot of some good things, but then a lot of things like, it's okay, like, it's all fine, and we're just like, this isn't fine, like, it's not okay, we're not, it sucks, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. And that is very much so how I tackle life. Like, when it sucks, I say it sucks, but I'm going to also, find joy in the triumphs too. So just being really real, and I think that people understanding that it is essential for knowing the heart of my business, is knowing that it's always going to be genuine, and like, my heart is always for other people, and it's always to like empower them and encourage them as best as I can.
And I think it's so inspiring that you're honest and open about the grief and pain, that you continue to wade through. You're not pretending that it's over, but yet you aren't letting yourself give into it.
Sit in it.
Sit in it. Yeah, I mean, that's a great way to, because I know there's so many people out there. We've all had days, no matter what's going on, like, where we want to succumb to it. It's easier.
And those days are okay, as long as, again, you don't like pitch tent and live there.
Live there forever. Yep, absolutely. I love that. Well, as this is launched and you're moving forward full steam ahead, which is super exciting, what are you most looking forward to?
I think I'm most looking forward to a couple of things. One is just to see, like, what does this look like? Like, I'm excited to see where this can go, just because I've seen the impact that our journey has made. Again, that doesn't speak to me as a person. It just speaks to how many people cared about Andrew and his journey, and then the life lessons that it's taught me since. So I'm excited to see the impact that it makes. I'm excited to focus more on writing in a more upbeat, positive way. My blog with Andrew, while it did, again, like you said, garner a lot of attention and just hundreds of thousands of views, it was always really heavy. Again, like, always really emotionally raw and very real, but heavy. And so I'm excited to step into writing as this empowering, freeing thing, which is what I love to do. And so it's exciting to kind of almost have this freedom to do what I love in a more lighter sense.
I love that. Well, so many people are cheering you on. So many people are excited for you, and I can't wait to see how it unfolds for you. And it's just going to be amazing. So maybe we can wrap up by just sharing how people can find out more. Obviously, they can go to your website.
Definitely.
I don't know if there are certain social media channels you want to
Yeah, definitely.
share,
so SamanthaSmithSpeaks.com, that is my website. Please go check it out because it took a lot of time and effort.
It did, and let me just interrupt. There are some great things on there. Her website is so great. Like, I appreciated that. Obviously, you can learn more about her business and the services she's offering, but there are also some really great videos on there. Videos she's done, but also just videos other people have done around empowering women and walking through grief, and there's some great books, resources, recommendations, and things like that. So it's worth checking out.
Yeah, so even if, you know, not right now, you don't know how I would fit into your business, but I wanted to be intentional about it being a place where, like, the blog is there, where you can, you know, read some writings there, and then went through and wrote through, like, 5 reviews of, I think it's like 5 books that really impacted me over the last year.
There's one I want to read so bad,
Option B.
I've never read it, but
so
everybody
good.
says it's
Sheryl
amazing.
Sandberg, Adam Grant, it's one on my most favorite
on my
books now. It is so powerful. So just went through and talked about, like, just things that are really empowering me, because I feel like if it's empowering me, then hopefully somebody else can take away something from it. So the website is a really good resource just to kind of get to know a little bit more about me. And then you can find me on Facebook, which you've tagged me in now. My Twitter handle is @Samantha44Smith. And then Instagram is SamanthaKSmith_.
Gotcha.
There are a few Samantha Smiths, so I had to get creative
She does
with
not
some
have
of
the
the
most
things.
unique name on the
I
planet.
don't. I remember when Andrew married me, I was like, nah, now I have the most common name in the world, Samantha Smith. Awesome. Love it.
I love it. Well, you guys should definitely check her out. Definitely follow her online. She's one of those women that you just want to surround yourself with. She's inspiring and funny, and she's a great person to have around. So I encourage you to follow her online. And if you have any questions for her, feel free to leave comments on this video, or she's got contact information on her website. You can certainly reach her that way. So, all right, we're gonna let you go.
Thank you for having me.
The internet kept us. Thanks for spending time with us.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to have.
You guys have a good rest of the day. Bye.